What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today some more Dragon Ball Fighters for y'all. So at this point, we're about 3 months into season 3 of Dragon Ball Fighters. Many character changes, many system changes, all that good stuff. Last week, Goichi, the #1 player on the PGRZ, winner of season 2 World Finals, posted his current tier list for season 3, and probably for me, one of the biggest surprises was him ranking UI Goku really early. For the most part, when new characters drop, usually players are pretty passive with saying how good a character actually is. Like, usually they're like, oh, this character feels good, or this character feels like okay or something, but I don't know specifically. The character could change and develop. But Goichi was straight up like, this character's top tier, I'm playing him pretty much from the jump. So in today's video, I want to look at this tier list that he made. He made one way at the beginning of the season as well, along with his teammate Fenrich. This is kind of just him though, posting his current feelings about the game. I'm gonna be adding some of my own commentary on this. As usual, if you like the content I'm putting out, feel free to like this video or subscribe to the channel. Both help the channel grow, and I would really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Okay, so again, let's start with the lettering before we talk about any characters at all. So he has top tier, S tier, S-, A, and B for the rankings. So the first thing you can look at is there's no C characters, there's no D characters. That's a good look for how strong the characters are in the game overall. More than half of the characters he considers in like an S tier level. So let's go from the bottom up here. So starting with the top tier, we have Base Vegeta, Bardock, UI Goku, Kid Buu, Teen Gohan, Yamcha, and Trunks. I am someone who always preaches about how good I think Trunks is, despite usually being kind of greedy. You know, in season 1 and season 2, you only had 1 assist to pick from, so it was kind of hard to build teams with Trunks, but now it's much easier to do so. He's a really good and flexible support for many types of characters now, and he still has all the good stuff that he had before, and he could be used with more characters because of his own tools being changed. That's really good. Yamcha's kind of back, mostly, some people are like, he never went anywhere, but in from the perspective of like the World Tour, he did kind of fall off a little bit. Despite his assist being like super good and adding on offense and stuff like that, the neutral control around beams was still so good that he did kind of fall off. Of course, there were people who were using him. A couple of notable people would be like B, Nakio, Francis Gila is another example. You find examples of people playing Yamcha basically in all regions, but it went from like many people playing him along with something like Adult Gohan to him being much more uncommon and usually being paired with GT. You also have Kid Buu and Teen Gohan, so two of who I thought last season were super top tier, right? They're still here. Kid Buu is literally never going to go away. This is Kid Buu Fighters. We will continue to see Kid Buu forever and forever. They would literally have to cut his legs off, quite literally, for him to not be good. He has literally been top tier since the game came out. This is crazy, but he still just adds so much. He's still so flexible. He still gives people mad mix-ups. He still has the maneuverability. He has so many things that are good and important. Teen Gohan too, like honestly the only thing they took away from Teen Gohan, looking at it from playing him myself at the end of season 2 quite extensively, is that, you know, he's just not snapping anymore. Basically all the other things are intact. Like, the system nerfed one strategy that he had, but besides that, he's pretty much the same character. Mad damage, meter gain, corner carry, like he's basically the same character as before. Bardock, here's another one. So of course in season 2 we were talking about how Bardock was falling off because he honestly, again, is at tournament level, right? So he is and was kind of falling off at that point because people wanted more guaranteed ways of opening you up, and you needed certain combinations of Bardock to do that may not have been the most stable. I'm one of those people, by the way. For example, like I had Bardock Yamcha on the team, good combination, but a little bit hard to use as more people started using more defensive styles, double beams and stuff like that. Despite that though, he still was basically top tier last season, like top 7, top 8, and now of course this is not Dragon Ball FighterZ without Bardock being top tier. He continues to be top tier, mostly in that, like, of course, his character tools and what he adds to the team, and also he is very flexible now. I personally thought his A assist, you know, like it's a pretty good assist. Like, it's not like having that assist on your team is gonna like super change your team. You know, it's a good assist. But now with his B assist, there is just a lot of flexibility of what you could do between the A, B, and C assist, right? A lot of people will say there's no reason to play anything but his B assist. What his B assist ends up doing is that it gives you a reason to not play Kid Buu. Because Kid Buu is normally your go-to block stun guy, but now you can have a character that's really flexible and neutral, that has good buttons, that usually has pretty good ways of opening you up, or at least conditioning you, or like being scary in your face, and you can have the block stun role without having to play Kid Buu, which is definitely new. Base Vegeta, he's the new kid on the block here, very mobile. It's basically what we saw from last season at the end, especially after Sonic really popularized the character. Of course, there are people who were a little bit ahead of the ball and saw his potential before that, but once Sonic Fox started playing Base Vegeta, a lot of people really turned on to his strength. In the beginning of the year in January, I picked up the character too. I thought the character was also like a top 7, top 8 character last season, so it's like both with Bardock and with Base Vegeta, it's like they took characters that are top tier and they're like, let's make them better. They're not good enough yet. So UI Goku would be the other new kid here. So the main thing is, personally, I think it's a little too soon to rate him. Goichi's pretty confident this character is a top tier character. I definitely see this character being S- at worst, and this is like on my scale too. So for example, like I don't think I would have scaled it out totally this way, because I think people can build against what he has, but his neutral, just like the nature of his neutral and how much damage he does and how easy he is to like convert things, I think he is going to be really strong. I don't know personally if I think he's like a super top 2 character yet, but Goichi's pretty convinced that he is. So let's go down to the S tier now. So we have Broly, Z Broly, GT Goku, Adult Gohan, Cooler, Majin Buu Hit, Enter 21, SSJ Vegeta, Base Goku, Vegito, Blue Goku, Kefla, Ginyu, Frieza, and Cell. I should have mentioned this before, but I'm pretty sure this is not really in order, especially once you go from top tier to like lower, quote unquote. We're in S tier, right? But generally these are not really in order. The main thing here is probably I am expecting many people to say that Broly should be higher. I remember having a conversation with the Kill Sage, and this will be coming up on the channel too. We talked about how we feel about the characters with each other for a while. We kind of built a tier list with each other. That there are actually things about Broly that are slightly weaker than before, despite the character being really strong. But I do kind of agree that he's kind of like this borderline character. He also does help put teams together really well. GT, of course, still here, still around, my friend from last season, season 2. That assist is probably like the main thing. That assist and like the EX moves are still there. EX moves being half off for him are really good. He's super mobile. He still has the damage and stuff. It's just he is just toned down a little bit. You know, no Spirit Bomb Monkey is probably the saddest thing out of everything. But he still contributes a lot to a team, especially with his A assist. Adult Gohan is still here too. He's another one that's kind of hurt by like system stuff, system changes outright. He also has a blocks and assist that they gave him on his B assist, but I don't think it's like... Basically, Bardock B assist is the best example of it because of how it tracks. But it's so nice that Adult Gohan has that flexibility. The A assist is still his A assist. I feel the same about Cooler. Still really, really strong DP assist here. You can basically put him on mid on pretty much any team still. So Cooler is here too. Cooler, the quote-unquote most slept on character in the game, a lot of people say. So once I see like Cooler and down, so a lot of these characters like Cooler, Frieza, I would also say like Hit and Majin Buu, these are characters that people have basically known are mad good, but I guess between like season 3 stuff, like how right now the system is more normalized, as in it's not so much about who can Universal Fuzzy you to death and how you build around that. Because that was probably like the true end of Season 2. Just like, oh, I'm going to hit you Universal Fuzzy you and to touch you off Universal Fuzzy. And people were getting to that point. These characters, we all knew were strong, but like it's like they get to really show themselves across the board instead of like in just with certain character specialists. So I would put Cooler in there. Cooler has that super good neutral, really basically disrespects all the stuff you do. He's actually quite mobile, and you need to train against him and figure out how to be his 3H, or else you can't even play the game against him. Majin Buu's up here too. Majin Buu has a super dominating neutral game, especially when he has good neutral support. He covers a lot of like good angles and stuff. He's pretty fast, great anti-airs, good mix-up. Always his issues were always that he was greedy and that he, you know, like a lot of tall characters, you could just like fuzzy him to death. But fuzzies aside, more characters being able to be played with Majin Buu is definitely a good thing for him. Now Hit, I actually recently chatted with UK buddy, friend, homie of mine, Obi Assassin, and he does not think Hit is super strong this patch, but Japan generally thinks that Hit is really strong. I don't know how much of it is just lack of matchup experience, because I could get that. Like, you never play against Hit, and then a Hit shows up and then murks your whole team. You're like, oh my god, this character can't be stopped. I can't super dash at him in the air, which is probably his #1 super good thing. In my head, Hit is always like, you can't super dash at him in the air, and I do actually think the character is really good in tournaments. Like, the onus really is on the opponent to deal with that stuff, and it's kind of hard. Even if you practice it, it could still be kind of hard under high pressure situations. 21 is back, right? She has a lot of good stuff. The main thing is that they basically decided to go all the way with her steals, and they gave her a way to get all the steals at the same time, which is definitely a pretty good change for her, so she could kind of like snowball you pretty quick. SSJ Vegeta still here, still one of the best assists in the game, still one of the best solo neutrals, you know, Ki Blast, DPing your super dash, really small, very mobile, a very common theme in this game, right? Being relatively not large, having a good Ki Blast game, and being mobile despite, like, whether you're talking about like dive kicks or you're talking about horizontal traveling moves that are fast, and Vegeta has the whole package. We have base Goku. Talk about starting from the bottom. When this character dropped in season 1, people were like, this character doesn't even feel finished. And then he exploded onto the scene in season 2 after Wawa. I don't remember the specific place. I think he got 3rd at that tournament, the versus fighting tournament in UK, and then from there people were like, whoa, this character is mad good, and a lot of people started to use him. He is definitely one of the main anchor options you have in this game. His assist is still very good and very helpful. He's still like similar to Yamcha. Like, he could definitely play the game by himself. He could definitely hit you. He can definitely play neutral alone. Like, he has a lot of really strong things going for him. His B assist is super unique in this game. It's, in my head, it's like the combo monster assist, because you get more meter, but it makes game plans faster. So this is what we talked about with Broly, that base Goku B actually helps Broly a ton because it gives you like way more resource to do damage. But I think it's not that flexible of an assist, really. And you generally, I think it helps the characters that are good at using resources alone the most, if that makes sense. So think about why, for example, people weren't hot on Android 18 in season 1, because, you know, her assist is good, but you sacrifice a combo assist. But in the case of base Goku's B assist, since you're building more meter, if your character has good solo ways of extending combos with resource, then that assist helps him a lot with combos, despite that assist not actually hitting your opponent. So Vegeta is actually a pretty big surprise. I feel like a lot of people, you know, he's a pretty contested character. People even think Vegito is good or not good. I think Vegito has basically been pretty good since he dropped. Despite him not being so traditionally like mix heavy, you know, his offense has always been really good. His meter gain, even though they keep nerfing it, is still like pretty good. His ability to just continue to do offense is really good. And in this patch, since you can't get your assist back very easily, being able to like keep your turn on your own is pretty important, and I think he's good at that. So Blue Goku is another character. Blue Goku is another character that's really slept on, right? A lot of people say that he slept on, but I think most people don't sleep on him. He was just another one of those this character is good, but he's hard to build around type of characters. Now his B assist is a Lariat assist. Everyone knows how to use Lariat assists, and they kind of buffed his A assist to be a little bit easier to use, so he has a lot more flexibility. This is actually the character I was thinking about for play for online tournaments when I was considering playing online tournaments for Dragon Ball, because I think a lot of this stuff is like kind of cheap if there's delay. But besides that, even despite those things, he still has ways to set up offense on his own, really mobile. I almost want to say maybe the most outright mobile Goku out of them, maybe besides like GT. So we have Kefla. She's new in season 3. I thought this character is pretty good. She I was saying that she reminded me of Bardock in that she was pretty needy if you wanted to do mix-ups with her that aren't like system mechanic stuff. Obviously her playstyle is not the same. She has a bunch of good stuff going for her as long as you support her the right way. That's usually the main thing that's would keep her from being on a lot of teams, in my opinion. So Ginyu. So why is Ginyu so high? Ginyu this time, he just finally has stuff that he needed for a long time. As usual, they buffed his combos, so that's not like such a huge thing because they always buff his combos. But I think his defense is just much better. Him actually having a level 3 really does actually make a difference and make it so he's not mega oppressed. It used to be much easier to deal, like, to put him in situations where he really just couldn't pick anything besides reflect. There's more opportunities for him to use body swap again, and that's a really big deal. He could basically take your character and just turn the game around. I think that's a legitimate strategy. I already thought it was something you could do in season 1, but it's probably the easiest it has ever been this season. Frieza, the original neutral god, we all remember this character. He same usual thing. I think in Frieza's case, probably one of the main benefits he gets from this season is just half off EX moves. He has really good EX moves, including like the EX blast that's really good at controlling space. His neutral is still mad good, and there's more options for characters for him to play with because of the multiple assists that we have in season 3. Cell is yet another one of those characters. I think the main benefit of season 3 for him is that he gets to use more characters than before, much more flexible. An easy example is that Cell and Bardock were always friends since the game came out, but now you don't necessarily have to again play Cell and Kid Buu to get mix-ups. You could use Cell and Bardock, and they work really well together in that regard. So now we move to the S- tier. Here we have Piccolo, Super Broly, Android 17, Android 18, Beerus, Zamasu, Tien, Gotenks, and Janemba. So again, these are technically still like high strength characters. We're still in S tier. S- characters are usually characters that like you can't really say they're the same level as A characters or like A plus even, but you can't really put them at the same level as the S characters. And out of these, the main one I would say I probably have an issue with is probably Super Broly more than anyone else. So if, in the case of Piccolo, you know, his main way of winning is gone, right? Like he just can't snap you to death anymore. That was literally his win condition. He'll hit you, snap you, Hell Zone you, kill you. Not only did he lose Hell Zone, but he also lost his old fuzzy. He had like a unique fuzzy where you would a unique solo fuzzy that involved hitting people like right before they touch the ground. They took that out of the game as well. So those are some of his strongest mix-ups. Despite that, the trade-off is they really buffed his A assist. I think that A assist is crazy. It's like you get 2 assist calls for 1. And it's still Piccolo. Like he's still good at jumping. He's still good at controlling space. He is good at mixing you up. He is just not as good at locking you out of the game. And that was like his main goal originally. And this is the case for 18 as well, right? So 18, you know, she still does the stuff she did before pretty well. Now she has to spend resource to kind of mix you up after knocking you down. I don't really know if she has a way to control Snap so well, but she was another character that heavily relied on Snap to win games. And that is weaker this season so far compared to previous seasons. So from here we have a couple of mystery characters personally. Like Android 17, as you all know, I don't have a ton of experience against Android 17. He's a pretty rare character in tournaments. To my knowledge, there might only be one notable Android 17 player per main region for the tour, right? So that's like your North America, EU, and Japan. I could only think of the only place I can't think of a good Android 17 player being is in EU. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. So I don't know too much about what's going on with him. Beerus is another example. I feel like they buff Beerus all the time, but they are like scared of making him too good. It feels like maybe this time is like the closest he is to like being like legitimately good. This is a character I have even less experience than against Android 17. So as far as I'm concerned with him, it's mostly you know he's still really mobile. They did buff him again. I've seen his new like solo combo routes and they look like pretty strong. It looks like he doesn't need that much help. But besides that, I'm not actually sure where this character is. Now on the other hand, Zamasu is a character I sleep on forever. All this character does is do damage and it has a good assist. I really cannot be convinced that this character is very good. This time you know, thanks to system changes and stuff, he is doing a little bit better. You know, he's another character that used to get like snapped to death and stuff like that, but he also had a good snap game before. He can use his super the way Piccolo has the option to and Kefla has the option to, where he uses super to cover the attacks. You usually have to deal with reflect, but like you have so much advantage, there's a lot you could do there anyway. So I personally think Gotenks and Janemba might be a little bit too low. So Gotenks did actually get a couple of additional nerfs, so maybe he's in the right spot. But the fact that he's the only character who can really snap you now, he can cover all the snap timings alone. He's the only character I know that has this ability. There are other nerfs though, like you can finally super dash the Beyblade, which definitely sucks for him. You can use the punch instead to hit it, but you know, the Beyblade used to be like so flexible as far as mobility, offense, all that stuff. His EX punches are no longer +3 to +1, but that's kind of fair because it costs half a bar. That'd be pretty cheap. And he still has Ghost Oki, so I feel like he actually has quite a bit of potential this season. Personally, Janemba is another one. They really buffed. I already thought Janemba's A assist was pretty good last season, but they buffed it and it's really strong right now. It's like a tracking SSJ Vegeta where like half of it is not considered a key blast and the second half of it is, so you can't like reflect until really late. It's really obnoxious to deal with if you haven't played against it. And of course the character, like I always kind of believed in him and I just thought just not enough people were playing him, and that's why I haven't heard a lot about him. This is unlike Tien, who, Tien got some nice stuff, but I just feel like all the other characters got really nice stuff too. So people will say like, oh, his chop is way faster, and like, he has armor move, and he does have this beam, and his assist, I will say his A assist was a really good one. He does have a tracking assist as well, but his tracking assist is not as great as the others. I think his is probably the weakest one. Like he got nice stuff this patch, but I just think like everyone else got nice stuff, so it kind of like diminishes what he got. And then the last one is Super Broly. I just think Super Broly is better than that. Like he does more damage. He does so much damage. He has big normals. Defense implicitly better because you can't fuzzy him anymore. He's got the invincible level 1. He can self bump himself. He has a command grab that's relatively fast, 24 frames. There are arguments about whether or not you can, reliably react to that. I think it's hard to react to his, and it's huge, and he has an anti-air one that if he reads you, then you're kind of smoked on that. So I think it's pretty rough. He's got the screen control as well, with like eraser blow, multiple key blasts. His movement is pretty good for a character his size, and his assists are pretty much all around good. The main ones I see being used are his C assist, actually, his beam, but I actually think all three are good. Probably like he has the beam itself, he has the ground shockwave that we saw last season was pretty good already, and he has an assist like GT Goku's, his eraser blow. It's an anti-air assist, so I don't know, I sort of just think he's a complete package and it's just a little bit better than what Goichi rated him. So now we're down to the last two tiers, the A and B tier. I basically will group them together. The way this tier list basically reads is that if your character is S- or higher, you're viable. If you are not S- or higher, you're either really greedy or really hard to build something around, or you're missing something. That's what I'd say all these characters have in common. 16 is like so close to being but I guess they're like he had his time, which kind of sucks. SJ Goku is definitely the definition of he's had his time in this game, probably besides like Kid Buu, right? His 2M nerf is a huge one. He's mostly the same character, but one of the things that really made people play SSJ Goku, besides like the damage and stuff, is that he just helped a lot of characters. But now there's a lot of options you can use that aren't SSJ Goku that can still help characters, right? There's so many beams available now. You have Trunks, you have Yamcha, you still have like Dodon Ray with Tien, you still have Android 21's A assist. Now there are like C assists that are beams that come before you, like the really popular one was S Broly, which we talked about already. So there's a lot of options out there. Krillin, I think he's kind of sleeping on Krillin a little bit. I think Krillin is better than this. By his grouping, I think Krillin probably should be S-. The character is very mobile, great key blast, good mix-up if you pair him with the right character. He's another option you have for a beam assist if you want him to play that role. Really good level 3 knockdown as well. His new A assist is really good. He can heal your teammates, and we all know how important Blue Life is. I think this character is probably a little bit better, like probably at that S- range. rather than A tier here. Nappa, probably the main thing that people are really hyped for him is that he has the restand. So for people who liked like Snap, for example, or like the super heavy mix level 3s, Nappa could do it for you, but you have to play Nappa. So that is kind of a rough time. Nappa's mobility is not so great. He's good at moving on the ground, but he's not that great at moving in the air. He has like pretty good assists. I actually don't know what his B assist is offhand, which is bad. But his A assist was so good that they had to nerf it once. It's still a pretty good assist in my opinion. Once he does get Cyberman out, it's kind of annoying to deal with, but a lot of people use like beam assist and defensive like shooting assists like SSJ Vegeta and stuff like that, so you can use that stuff to deal with the Cyberman. So he really has to like get going really fast around his game plan. If he gets started though, it's definitely sad times. Then Blue Vegeta, last patch I rated that character pretty low. This patch I probably think you could rate him like S- with some of these other characters. I think, you know, like he doesn't have like, it's hard to say, he doesn't really have like shining unique things about him, but he has like a pretty like complete tool set. Like I played him a little bit this season trying him out, and you know, he has like good key blasts, he's mobile, he's good at stopping jumping, he's good, like he does do good damage, he has ways of extending combos by himself by using resources, he has mix-ups when paired with the right assist, so he has basically everything a character needs. So I can't really see why you would rate a character like that so low, personally. Then Gogeta, I've actually been seeing people rate Gogeta pretty low recently. So when the character dropped in Season 2, I actually thought he was like okay, like an A tier, A plus tier type of character. I think the main thing that people don't like is that his frame data is bad. Like his neutral is really good and almost like, you know, he could swing. He's got really good normals, like his jump medium, he's mobile, he has all those beams. He's kind of hard to approach if you don't know how to play against him. But I think once he touches you, he's not really that scary. It reminds me of like, honestly, like a worse Vegeta as far as offense. It's really, really nice that he has a good DP and he can do it in the air. But besides that, like, I don't think he's that scary anymore. And then we have your last characters. So we have Goku Black, Jiren, and Videl. Jiren, this poor boy, they really tried to buff him, and UI Goku is top tier according to Goichi, and Jiren is still bottom tier. The B is for bottom. I mean, all jokes aside though, B means, you know, functionable, but I don't think viable in the scope of this game, right? So you have Goku Black, where, you know, of course at higher levels, really, really hard to hit people. He's mobile. He's like a character that's good at moving, but can't do anything else. That's Goku Black. Jiren, I will say if you're not ready for Jiren, he will wash you, but he still, I think, has the same fundamental issues once you hit the character. And it feels like UI Goku is like a super buff Jiren. Like what they were trying to do with Jiren, they did with UI Goku in a better way. Videl is the last one. I don't think they really addressed her issues at all. Again, she's lacking an important system mechanic, right? Reflect. Instead, she has the dodge, where, you know, it does come in handy sometimes, but mostly punishes her. You could do offense that you can't do to any other character, specifically to her, because of the dodge. That is pretty rough. Her offense is good, and she could make you guess a lot, but it's like too much, like too many things have gaps, so it's too much dual layered guessing. Like usually it's like okay to have that type of dual layered guess, but it's like super prevalent throughout her basically entire structure of the character. So that is that really keeps people from playing her. She probably has more potential than people think, but it's just like, I just think it would peak. Like I wouldn't be too surprised if someone like played a really good Videl and like they dropped a game or a set because they weren't ready for certain things. Like she's the type of character that lends herself to having those type of things, but like long term, you know, especially once you get like a lot of experience, I don't think she could push you that hard. Okay, so that's basically my summary of it. Again, this is Goichi's tier list, right? The way I'd want you all to look at this is that basically considers pretty much everyone from S- and higher to be like viable for competition, really. And then A is like okay, but either greedy or is missing a couple things. And then B is like, oh, they're missing a couple things only, right? The game's in a pretty good place right now. There's only, let's see, 9 characters he would consider to be not competitively viable in a game of 40 characters, right? That is definitely a good thing. I mostly agree with some of this. I don't agree with everything totally, but I think this is a pretty good tier list as we are right now. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.